Hello, thanks for watching my video. This is an unboxing video for a Miller Thunderbolt 210. It's a DC stick welder, and I'm real excited about this. I love stick welding. Here's a part number for you, 907722. I've never used this stick welder, I just got it. I tried to make an unboxing video earlier, and it worked out really badly, so this has already been out of the box, but we're pretending that I'm opening it now. So this is what comes with it. You get a manual. Which I've already been into. Good to read the manual. And we'll just start out right now with the unit. Here it is. Like I say, this one's brand new. I bought it for $745 from welding supplies from IOC, and it was shipped directly from Miller. The controls in front are amperage control, goes from 25 to 210, goes up to 210. Power, and if it overheats, you have to wait 15 minutes before you start welding again. The duty cycle at 210 amps is 2 minutes. And there's other duty cycles for reduced amperage. From memory, I think it's 160 amps for 3 minutes. And this is the power cord. It's really thick. This is the plug-in. It's the same as you'd get, it's the same as a plug-in on my Millermatic 252. So that's nice. Like I said, this is a Miller Thunderbolt 210. So it is 220 volt unit. They make a Hobart stick mate, which costs a whole lot less, maybe $200 or $300 or even $400 less, because like I say, I paid $745 for this. But if you buy the Miller, not only is it blue, and it might match your other equipment, that's why I bought it, because all my welders are blue. You get this real nice pouch for holding your leads. Speaking of the leads, here they are. I've already put them together, but I'm going to take them apart and put it back together since it's an unboxing video. So this is a really nice case. I'm real excited about it. It clips on real nicely to my small runner cart, which I'll show you later. So here are the leads, starting out with the electrode holder. This is 4-gauge wire. I looked on the internet, and 4-gauge wire can be used for welding leads for 0 to 50 feet length, 30% duty cycle, 180 amps. So Miller has chosen to supply these with 4-gauge cable. It's definitely 4-gauge, and that is enough to do the job within the parameters of the duty cycle of this machine. It has small dense connectors. I think they're pretty small. Here's the electrode holder, which I'm really excited about. Has a lot of tension, and I'll show you how to take it apart. It has a screw here, which is a hex key, which is provided by Miller. And you loosen that. I have it in there really tightly. So you loosen the hex key. You don't want to take that screw out though, ever. And then this slips off, it's very tight. Okay, so we'll leave that on there. And here's what is underneath the handle. It's copper plated. And I'll show you how to install the lead. These are Phillips these grub screws. I've got them in there really tight. So this is how to take apart and put together the clamp. It came with a shim, and it says in the manual how to use the shim. So there's the copper shim and the electrode holder. And when you get the unit, these grub screws will be loose. They just come out all the way, as you can imagine. When you buy it, those are in the box, in a bag loose. The shim is a piece of copper foil. This is the inside of the number 4 gauge wire. Okay. Like I say, the shim is a piece of foil. What it says in the instructions is to put this in there and put the shim on top of the copper so that it pushes down. The set screws or grub screws are going to push down on the foil, and then you're going to get electrical contact that way. I've got an errant strand there. Okay. So there it is, pushed in all the way. Sure, that's going to make contact. If you're stick welding and it doesn't make contact, you'll be the first to know. So I'm going to tighten these. That was pushed in all the way and there's no wire sticking out. And then maybe it's ever so slightly tricky with the handle here. This handle goes on like this. And it only goes one way. See how there's this hole here? It says a screw not removable. And here's a hole. This hole is for the hex key that goes in here. So you'd go like this, and it's tight. Push it on all the way, line it up with the hole, and then when you tighten this, the bolt is pushing up against the plastic handle. Okay, so that's on there securely. So I'm going to put this into, I like to weld with 6010 and 7018. I am always welding on DC electrode positive. This is the electrode, so I'll put it into the positive, which is on the right. Good. Also note that this unit came with a strap up here. I took off the strap because I always weld in my garage. I don't like to go anywhere. But this thing only weighs 15 pounds, so if you want to take it on the road, it's very light. Very, very light. This is the ground clamp, the work clamp. Pretty tight. Well, no, not that tight. Pretty decent quality work clamp. I was getting a screw for this, and I tried a 3/8, it was too small. I tried a 7/16, it was too big. Settled on a 10 millimeter, which is a little too loose, so we're calling this a 10 millimeter nut. The way that this bolt is in there, it's staying in there, which you probably can't see, but all you need to do is just manipulate it from this side. And if you look in the manual, Miller has all the hardware on top of the lead. I'll show you how. If you look at the manual, it says to take the work clamp and then put this on the work clamp. This is a little washer that's on here. So all the hardware is going to be on top of that. So how this is going to go together with the work clamp is we're going to put the tab here like this, emanating downward. It's a little loose until I get it tightened. So we'll try to have gravity work for us a little bit. Got a washer on there. Okay, I think I'm going to shove this screwdriver in there to keep that pushed out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the tab on there. And then the washer. Get this screwdriver in there to keep the bolt pushed out. It's almost a three-handed affair here. Then the nut. Once I get the nut on there, I'm home free. And I'm going to orient that straight down. Make sure it's straight. And tighten it to get my work clamp contact. So like I say, welding, stick welding DC. I like DC electrode positive. If the electrode's positive, that means the work clamp is negative. Negative is on the left. Okay. So I've built a nice home for this stick welder. I got a small runner cart. Here. And I'll reposition the camera to see how that goes, show you how it goes on the small runner cart. Okay, so now I'm just holding this whole big mess here, and I'm real excited about my cart, so let's see how it goes on the cart here. This is the pouch. I'll show you that in a minute. Here I am putting this on the cart. Go plug it in. I have a 40 amp, 220 volt outlet. Okay, so this goes like this, and then this pouch fits very neatly right here. Seems to be made for this cart. So here I got a big mess in my hand, right? Look at that. So then what you do is you can undo the leads when you're going to take a break from welding. Like I said, I still haven't started this welder. Well, I've started it, but I haven't welded with it yet. And I'm going to do a lot of videos because I have a lot of different electrodes. I have 6010, 6011, 6012 that I got from Australia. I have 6013. I have 7010. I have 7014. I have 7016 that I got from Australia. And I have 7024. And I'm going to use them all. Well, I also have 7018 AC, and I'm not going to use that with this machine. The reason I got this machine is a while ago I bought a Dynasty for TIG welding, and I need it for TIG welding, and I just ended up using it for stick welding a lot. And it was always on my Dynasty, I always had the leads connected, DC electrode positive, and my torch was off on the side, so that didn't work. Look how good that looks. I like that pouch. So now let's burn some electrodes with this thing. Here it is turning on. The first electrode that I'm going to burn is going to be 6010, and I'm going to run it at 80 amps DC electrode positive. Part of this unboxing video is going to be going through and using all the types of electrodes I could find. One thing I forgot to mention is this small runner cart that you buy from Miller. Doesn't come with a shelf right here. Doesn't have a shelf right here because it's made for a Coolmate and a Dynasty or whatever else you might put it in, but it doesn't have a shelf here, so I had to go down to the steel yard and buy this to make a shelf, and this is 11 9/16 by 21, and it was real easy just to stick it in there in this location here and drill holes. It's real easy. I want to show you guys how I set my small runner cart up for my Thunderbolt 210. I have the cord running through the back. I have a Dynasty with a Q-size tank of argon that I'm always running out of argon. So this is my extra cylinder. It's obviously not associated with stick welder. Goes without saying. So this is where I stick my extra argon cylinder. And then I got my brushes here, because it's all for steel. And then over here, I've got my slag chipping hammer. And this cart is made for a Dynasty. And so I put my stick welding gloves in here. I have this set up for stick. Speaking of which, I've got all my electrodes down there. 6010 up to 7024, kind of more or less in order. I just love stick welding. Note that these are 7018 AC, so I would run those on the Dynasty. And anytime I want to do something AC, I guess I would have to use my Dynasty because Miller discontinued the Thunderbolt XL series, which had AC capability. Okay, so I'm going to burn all the different electrodes and see how they run. Okay, so this will be the first time I've welded with this machine. I'm going to turn it on, and it's a little noisy. Here's my 6010 rods. I don't know if you can read that. 3/32, 6010. You can run it between 40 and 80 amps, DC positive. I'll get out 3 rods, welding on the 5/8 plate. Well, that's a tight electrode. Okay, here we go. The maiden voyage here. Running really poorly. I'm going to have to take a look here and make sure everything's hunky-dory. Run through the checklist here. DC electrode positive, check. It's set to 80 amps. And it was not running well. And I don't know why. If that happens again, I'm gonna... I don't know, it seemed like I didn't have a good ground. Okay, so it seemed to me there was definitely a problem there. I was losing power. Like, it had an open circuit. So what I would check is all the electrical connections all the way down. Starting with the electrode holder, which you saw me hook up. As I recall, I think I would be getting contact there. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to take out the DINS connectors and put them back in. And I'm going to turn it off and turn it back on. I'm also going to plug it, unplug it, and plug it back in. Okay, so the first run didn't go so well. I've got the work clamp attached directly to the workpiece. And I clamped it down tight. And now I'm kind of worried that this machine might have an issue, although maybe it's operator error. I hope it's operator error. Okay, so let's try that again. I'll just try to keep a tight arc. Maybe that was the problem. Just try to put this in the center of the camera. There we go. Okay, so I didn't have the problem that time. I think I could tentatively blame myself for not keeping a tight arc. I could also blame myself for making zero effort to clean the metal. This 5/8 plate has been sitting in a warehouse. So, like I say, I'm used to doing this with a Dynasty, and it has the dig function, and it also has the stick stuck function. So also my fault for not making a bead that's a straight line. Oh. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do it again, and I'm going to be very mindful to keep a tight arc. Okay, so that went nicely. And now I'm going to move on to a different electrode. I'm just going to chip off the slag and show you guys what the bead looks like. And then I'll break out the 6011s. So this is a 6010 bead. That was the first time I used this machine. Again, this is 3/32 6010, running on DC electrode positive on 5/8 inch mild steel plate with no effort made to remove the mill scale. I had it set at 80 amps. Let's check out how the Miller Thunderbolt's doing. The fan is always on. It's set to like 80.5 amps. So now I'm going to break out 6011s. Okay, I'm ready to go here with the 3/32 6011s. And I have the welder set to DC electrode positive at 85 amps. I've taken out 3 electrodes. Okay, so let me tell you what that experience was like. It was great. I didn't have the problems with the power going out like I had with the 6010. It seemed to fizzle out a little bit, as often happens when the electrode gets short, it starts to fizzle out. I was doing the whip and pause on the 6010 and the 6011. Let's look at the very first bead I made with the 6011 on this Miller Thunderbolt 210. Looks pretty good. Again, 85 amps, DC positive. Gonna burn 2 more 6011 rods. Yeah, the 6010, that was a tough introduction. So what I do is very mindful about always running a tight arc, and with the 6010, 6011, I do whip and pause. That was my first time sticking the rod with this machine. I still feel like I'm getting intermittent power with this machine. At some point I'll be taking a close look at installing and taking apart the electrode holder and the work clamp and putting it together again. Okay, well that bead's too ugly to show. So here's the last 611. I'm mindful here, seeing if I have power the whole time. Now I'm starting to wonder if I have been spoiled by the Dynasty with the stick stuck feature and the dig settings. But this is fine, not complaining. I think it's operator error. Because I noticed if I was really good with my technique, I would have zero problems. Hey, that bead shows some potential. Here is my 6012 that was not available in the United States, so I had to buy it on eBay, and it came from Australia. Very friendly people. I also get my 7016 from them. If it's not available in the United States, I don't let that stop me. I just buy it from somewhere else. So all these sizes are metric. So I bought the smallest one. I think it's 2 millimeter. It says you can run it on AC or DC, positive. 50. It says minimum, it says AC, minimum OCV, 50. Looks like I can go between 55 and 75 amps. So I'm gonna run it at 75 amps. Here's the 6012. That's the company that sells it on eBay, like Hamden, Australia. And this is a light penetration rod. And I don't know if it's a drag rod or if I will whip and pause. I do not know. They sell these 400-gram handy packs. And these were not terribly expensive, but then with the shipping, it did become expensive. I think I spent $80 for like what's less than 2 pounds. So when you factor in the shipping, it's really expensive. I live in California. So let me open these packs and try these low penetration 6012 electrodes, which I believe are 2mm electrodes. I'm going to read what this says about the 6012 electrode. I've never used these before, I just opened them. Talking about the 6012 electrode, it says 6012 is a rutile coated electrode suitable for general fabrication, mild steel work, particularly where HV fillet welding is required. I don't know if that means high voltage, I don't know. The outstanding characteristics are the extreme flexibility during operation combined with a self-releasing slag and regularity of the deposit and the absence of undercut. Designed primarily for downhand welding, that's flat position, but also suitable for use in other positions. So when it said rutile coated, I think that means titanium dioxide maybe. So let's try it out. Okay, I just double checked that the welder is set to 75 amps for these 2mm 6012s. Yeah, you can't read that. Well, let's see how they weld. I'm all the way from Australia. I was doing a whip and pause. You see, I continue to have a problem welding in a straight line. We recall that the package said it was self-releasing slag, which appears to be true. So the experience of welding that was, I was surprised how quickly it was burning, and then I remembered it was 2mm, which is, if it was a 16th, it would be 1.6mm. And if it was 3/32, it would be 2.4mm. So it's right in between, exactly in between a 1/16 and a 3/32. And it burned nicely. That was a whip and pause. Good looking bead. I am going to try a drag and see how that works out. Here's the first 6012 bead. Like all my beads, it's not in a straight line. So here we go, 6012 with a drag. When I stick weld, I leave a lot of the nub, enough to read the numbers. I hate it when people stick weld with using my electrodes and then burn it down and burn my electrode holder. So this one's got a little bit left. I'm just going to simulate a tack weld. Get my money's worth. So, self-releasing slag. Drag. Well, this slag's coming off real easy like you would get with 6013, which is coming up next, by the way. Just going to do these in order. This bead of 6012 is not as attractive as the bead I did with whip and pause. That bead is a 6012 using a drag technique. 6012 electrode, 2mm diameter, running at 75 amps, DC electrode positive on a Miller Thunderbolt 210 on 5/8 inch mild steel plate that I made no effort to clean. And I also want to say that this runs hot. I would be inclined to turn down the welder. Right now it's set at 75 amps. It is, I would be inclined to turn it down a little, but I'm trying to be consistent with this test. I'm trying to run everything on the same 5/8 plate on the max amperage settings. So this is the last 6012 I'm going to demonstrate in this video, and I'm going to do whip and pause. I like this electrode. I don't know if that's subconscious because I paid $40 a pound and I had to wait for a week for it to come airmail, or maybe it actually does burn nicely. So we remember that the slag on 6012 comes off real easily. Sure does. And that is a beautiful bead, if I don't say so myself. This is my third 6012 bead, and I think it's a beauty. I did that whip and pause, 75 amps DC positive. This is my 6013 that I got at Home Depot. 3/32 inch. I'm running everything that I can DC positive at the max amperage. So I'm going to set my DC stick welder to 100 amps. And I'm going to show you this here. You guys have all seen this at Home Depot for general use. E6013 is real easy to weld with. So I'm going to go set my welder to 100 amps. All right, I've got my 3 6013 electrodes out. 3/32. I'm going to double check that I've set my welder to 100 amps. Yep, my new Miller Thunderbolt 210 is set to 100 amps. And here's the 6013. Boy, this stuff's real easy to use. Real easy. Whenever I show someone how to arc weld, I always break out the 6013. Always. All right, so here's the 6013 on the 5/8 plate. Well, that went very smoothly. 6013 is easy. Now this as we know, 6013 has very thick slag. Gonna chip right off. Now I was doing a whip and pause. I've never been officially informed if 6013 is a whip and pause or a drag rod, but I did a whip and pause. And it looks pretty good to me. This is my 6013 bead, the first bead I made with the Miller Thunderbolt 210. It's 3/32, 6013, running at 100 amps, DC electrode positive. I'm having fun now. What I'm going to do now is run another stick of 6013. And I always want to whip and pause with 6013. So that went very smoothly. Seems like it always does with 6013. And here's the slag. It's going to come off real nice. Easy money. 6013 just about always welds itself. What you see there is my second 6013 bead. Well, I am really looking forward to running my last 6013 electrode. And I guess as an experiment, I'll drag, which I've never done. I don't think 6013 is a drag rod, but we're going to find out what happens when you do. So I don't like dragging 6013. What you see there is 6013 electrode. As an experiment, I did a drag using the 6013 like a drag rod. The settings I've been using for the 6013, which are 3/32 in diameter, are 100 amps DC electrode positive. This is my 7014 electrode, Blue Demon, made in China, very affordable. I'm just going to read it to you. It's 1/16. I use this stuff all the time, and I run it between 35 and 60. There it is, 35 and 60. And it's not, oh yeah, okay, here's what it says. E7014 is a high-speed iron powder type electrode that can be used on AC or DC welding current. This electrode has smooth arc characteristics, good arc stability, low spatter, and produces medium to low penetration. E7014 offers outstanding slag removal and bead appearance. This rod is ideal for jobs that require high deposition and speed of travel. I've used E7014 a fair amount. And my feeling is that it's smooth as butter. It just welds just really nice. I set my welder to 60 amps for these 1/16 7014 electrodes. All right, let's try out the 7014. Well, that was really hot. Anybody in their right mind would turn down the welder, turn down the amperage. So here's the bead. The experience of welding that was very strange. First, because the thin 16th inch electrode always wants to boing, boing around. And, you know, 1/16 inch electrode on 5/8 plate, really not what you're doing every day. And I did a drag. So this is my first 7014 bead. My settings are 60 amps, DC positive. So now I'll do it again. I'm going to drag. See that electrode is heating up a lot. So 7014 has easily removed slag. It sure does. Very smooth operating electrode in my experience. So there's my second bead with 1/16 7014. And here's the last 7014 electrode. I had hoped to use some 7010 A1s tonight, but they're still making their way here. I bought them on eBay and just having some issues, so the 7010 A1s will be along later, and I will edit that right into this video. This one I'm using now is 1/16 7014. And that electrode is orange hot. That is the third and final 7014 bead. DC electrode positive, 60 amps. So what I have now is my 7018. I bought a pound of this. It's 1/16. It did not say on the package how much amperage to run, and I Googled it, and it said for 7018 you want to run about 30 amps for every 32nd inch. So 1/16 is 2 30-seconds, so that'll be 2 times 30 amps, so I'm going to try 60 amps DC electrode positive. I remember that when I had the 7014s in 16th inch, the package said to run it between 35 and 60 amps. So now I said 60 amps maximum for the 7018. And as everybody knows, 7018 is a low hydrogen rod. I just opened that pack. So these rods are fresh. I'm still getting good at using 7018s. I've never been very good at these. I know it's a drag rod. And see how these 1/16 electrodes want to move around like that? Yep, that's what I was saying about the 7018s. That happens to me a lot. I won't say that 7018 is my least favorite rod. I'm not going to say it. You can see that I have trouble with 7018s. So the 7018 has an easily removed slag. That's too ugly to show. So this rod was one that I stuck and then it was heated up and it's spoiled. So I got one 7018 left. I'm going to try my best. And good or bad, I will show you what the bead looks like. Actually, the bead I made isn't terrible. So here I am trying to make a real beautiful bead with the 7018 in 1/16 variety. And I also won't say that 7018 hates me, because that would be ridiculous. So that is a 1-to-warm rod. Warm. I'm obviously running it too hot. Okay, so let's see how that turned out. So I'm opening up these 7018 AC rods that I got sort of cheap on eBay, and they sound like there's flux moving around in there, so I think these are going to be all messed up. Hope not. No, they're fine. They're fine. So I am going to try 3 7018 AC rods. These are going to be 3/32 low hydrogen rod, fresh out of the box. .332. I have to Google what to run those at. I do not know. I was a little unfamiliar with 7018 AC, and I Googled it, and on Lincoln's website it says you can run 7018 AC on AC, of course, or DC electrode positive, and the amperage range for 3/32 electrodes is between 70 and 115 amps. So I'm going to set my Miller Thunderbolt to 115 amps DC electrode positive. All right, so I got my 3 7018 AC electrodes. They're 3/32 inch, and I have my Miller Thunderbolt set to 115 amps DC electrode positive. Okay, drag rod. It's a drag rod. Wow, I was really getting out of position there. But I don't like the 7018 restarts, because that the bottom of the electrode gets like glass. Hard to restart. Okay, so with 7018, what we're going to expect is easily removed slag. Okay, that's an embarrassment, but I will show it. This is my 7018 AC bead. First one I've run on the Miller DC stick welder that I'm excited about. Okay, here I am having more fun with the 7018 AC. So there I was really mindful about my technique. And I think I did what I was aiming to do. So I'm going to let the slag cool a little bit. Here's my second 7018 bead after I chipped off the slag. Looks like I was moving a little too slowly. All right, here's the last 7018 AC rod. That's about as short as I like to leave the nubs, as I don't like to burn my electrode holder. So I found the slags easier to remove if I let it cool for a little bit. This is my third and final 7018 AC bead, 115 amps. DC electrode positive. Looks like I failed to get all the slag off. This is one of my favorite electrodes. 7024. Works really nice. A lot of iron powder. Easily removed slag. Maybe I like it because I'm only using it in the flat and horizontal position. So it always seems easy. So these are 3/32. And you can see there it says to run it at 100 to 145 amps. Let me look here. About the polarity. Not sure about the polarity, but we're going to run it on DC electrode positive and see how that works out. So I had hoped to weld tonight with some 7010 A1 as well as some 7016. And I did purchase them and they're making their way here, but they're not here for this video. Looks like I ran it down a little too much. Not taking care of my electrode holder. I have to have longer nubs. So here's the 7024. I'm going to set my welder to 140 amps. So these are the last electrodes I'm going to run tonight. 7024, 3/32. I have my welder set to 145 amps. DC electrode positive. And I did not officially confirm that 7024s can be run on DC electrode positive. I'm just hoping that they can. Wow, look at that. That was freaking hot. H-O-T hot. I had said I'm going to run all of these at the max amperage listed on the box, but hokey smokey, that was out of control. 7024 usually comes out looking really nice. Looks like I got some porosity there. I'm not used to welding so freaking hot. This is the 7024 bead that I ran at 145 amps, DC electrode positive. Note the porosity at the end. Okay. Maybe it'll be easier now that I am prepared that it's so freaking hot. I'm going to double check that I have it set at only 145. Oh, yep, it's set to 145 amps. Look at that glowing rod. I like welding hot, but not that hot. Okay, so the next electrode is going to be the last one for the night. So I got some porosity at the end again. I'm only getting porosity at the end. That is the second 7024 bead. All right, last bead of the night. Last bead of the Thunderbolt unboxing. We got to see how the Thunderbolt performed. The fan was on the whole time, which is fine. I'll call Miller and ask if that's supposed to be the case. I don't mind, but if you were paying attention, you'd notice that the fan was on during the whole video. It's a noisy one. Okay, so here's the last 7024. And there's that glowing electrode. Hot stuff. So here's the last weld. So here's my Miller Thunderbolt 210 after the first night I used it. I like it. The fan was on the whole time, which must be normal. I felt it, the side, it was cool to the touch. I had no problems except the running of the 6010. But I'm sure that was my fault. I like this welder. I would buy another one. I really like the pouch. If someone wants to save money, you could get the Hobart Stickmate. Here it is from the side. And thank you for watching my Miller Thunderbolt 210 unboxing video.